Hi guys, I'm Sneha and you are watching my channel Book Junction, and in today's video I'm going to talk about a really special book. So the name of the book is I Have Never Been Unhappier by Shaheen Bhatt. And if you have watched my previous video in which I talked about all the books that I would, not all the books but some books that I would want to read in this year, and this book was on the top of that list because I really wanted to read this book because the topic of this book is something that is really sensitive and something that is really close to my heart, and that's why it was such an important book for me. And finally I read this book and I cannot tell you how beautiful a book this is. I read this book in one day, like literally one day. So this is what the book looks like, and I think it's just one of the most beautiful books that I have ever read, and it's written by Shaheen Bhatt. Now what the book is all about, it's Shaheen Bhatt's journey of depression, and she says in the book that depression is not really a journey, it's a fight, and a person who goes through depression, they have to fight each day with it. So I think that should clear this up, that there is no romanticizing of depression and sadness in this book, which I truly love, because there are so many books that talk about depression and they end up romanticizing it. But I think just because she has went through it for such a long time that she knows the heaviness of it, the weight of it, and that's why she could never have honestly romanticized it. Now let's get into the book and talk about everything that is there and what exactly is this. So when we think about celebrity kids and star kids, we only think about the silver spoon with which they have been born. We know that they are privileged people, and then the idea that how can privileged people be sad and how can they ever be depressed, and what exactly is depression? All of these questions are just out there and everyone wants to have the answers of those questions. And the best part about the book is that Shaheen Bhatt addresses all of them in the very beginning of the book. She talks about how she knows that she has come from a privileged background. She knows that she has a very loving family, and she has the privilege of just staying in her bed when she cannot function. And she knows the privilege is huge, but that does not mean that she cannot feel what she is feeling. So in the very beginning, she clears all these things, that privilege has nothing to do with depression, that it's okay if everything is going right in your life, but if you're not feeling right, then what's the point? If something inside you is wrong, then what's the point? And I think that's why a lot of when celebrities commit suicide, for example when Chester Bennington committed suicide, a lot of us were just devastated and clueless that how can he do that, because he has inspired so many people. He was such a big name in the industry. How can he do that? Everything was right in his life, but these things are some things that just cannot be explained like that, and that is very important. So I feel like if you have personally went through depression, you will obviously connect with this book, you will relate with this book, you will know what the book is all about. But if you haven't, like if you have no idea what the hell depression is, then you need to read this book. Only then you will be able to understand what it is in its true colors. So more than a person who is going through this, I think a person who wants to learn about it, who wants to know it so that they can help their friends and their people, then they should read this book for sure, because it will help you identify if someone in your life is going through it or need help. She has also shared her experience, or rather encounter, with panic attacks and anxiety, and she tells you how anxiety sometimes can be a byproduct of depression, or sometimes depression is the byproduct of anxiety. So a lot of mental illnesses are sort of linked together. One can happen because of the either, and that's why everything is so complicated. And she has shared how it feels to go through a panic attack, and if you have been through a panic attack, you know what she exactly is talking about. Now another thing that is extremely sensitive that I read in this book is suicide, and a person who goes through suicidal thoughts. And we live in a society that tells us that a person who commits suicide is coward and who does not have the strength to face the society and life. But would you say the same thing for a person who dies of cancer? You wouldn't say that they were not strong enough. You wouldn't say that they were cowards. You would be sad. You would grieve their death because they suffered for so long and finally they gave up, because that's what humans do. And suicide is just the end result of mental illnesses. A lot of times people just cannot take the perpetual pain and suffering and they commit suicide. It's death. It's just plain death. It's not a crime. It's not something that someone does out of, pure mood swings. So there is this passage in the book that explains this entire thing so beautifully and so sensitively, and that's why I want to read this out for you. You will know the weight of it. So let me read it out for you. So the passage goes like, the psychotically depressed person who tries to kill herself doesn't do so out of hopelessness, not because death seems suddenly appealing. The person will kill herself the same way a trapped person will eventually jump from the window of a burning high-rise. Their terror of falling from a great height is still just as great as it would be for you or me. The variable here is the other terror, the fire's flames. When the flames get close enough, falling to death becomes the slightly less terrible of the two terrors. And I just don't know. If you still do not understand what it is for a person to commit suicide, then I just cannot explain it, Now I'll honestly say one thing. There is only one thing that is missing in this book, and that is a trigger warning. I think that this book should come with a trigger warning for those people who don't have any idea what this book is exactly going to be about. I think there should be a big trigger warning before this book, because it is very triggering, It made me extremely sad. It made me extremely, I don't know, it just made me feel so empty from inside while I was reading this book. And my mother looked at my face and she was like, what's wrong with you? Like, I understand that there is something wrong with this book that is making you feel like that. Like, it was right on my face, and it was right on it just reflected through my face, and it just reflected because I don't know, it just hit me so hard. And there are some lines and some paragraphs in this book that will just hit you like a boulder. So that's why I feel like someone who is going through a terrible phase in their life, maybe they are going through some loss or whatsoever, I think it is important for those people to know that what exactly is going to be there in this book, so they are prepared, so that they know that, okay, I am in the mental space where I can take all of that, because it's difficult to process everything that she has written. It's difficult to register all of that, and it took me some time to do that. And I was just really disoriented when I was reading this book. I was all over the place, and I cried a lot. I do cry when books are, heartwarming, but this book just broke all the barrages. Anyway, I don't really think I need to say this anymore, that please go and read this book. Like, I cannot recommend this book enough. This is one of the best books that I have ever read, and I just want everyone to read this book. That was all that I wanted to say about this book. Now there are some beautiful passages in the book that I loved, and I would love to read those out for you. So I'm thinking that I'll make a video where I just sit down and chill and read some passages out of the book for you guys, a reading session sort of, and we can discuss everything. So just let me know in the comment section if you guys would be interested in something like that, because I think that would be a really great thing for us. Like, even if you are not able to buy the book, at least I can read out some beautiful lines from the book that will make you, more informed and a better person maybe. So just tell me if you would be interested in something like that, and I'll come up with it. So that will be all for today's video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it and found it valuable. If you did, then do not forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell icon so you are notified with all the notifications, and I'll see you next time. Until then, goodbye.